It should be something that people get angry about. Like, hey, you're with definitions in order to pretend that you're doing a good job.
Well said. I couldn't say it better. Anyway, joining us now with more, Texas Senator Ted Cruz. All right, Senator, so they don't want to admit the obvious that this is a recession. They're playing word games. Then we have more than doubled. They want to more than double the number of IRS agents. That will mean more harassment of the American people. And you look at that, and we see these massive increases on the middle class in this country. They're paying the bulk of these new taxes. I'm just trying to understand why Joe Manchin not only is going along with it, but then lying about it when he talks about it on air.
Look, Sean, it's a great question. Joe Rogan is exactly right. The White House has literally redefined recession because the historical definition has been 2 consecutive quarters of GDP shrinking. We have that right now. And so they just said, never mind. Words don't mean what they think. So suddenly recession is hunky-dory, great Joe Biden economic boom. And they just are counting on the corrupt corporate media to echo their lies. You look at this bill, the Schumer-Manchin bill. It is a terrible bill. Let me tell you 4 consequences of this bill if it passes. Number 1, 87,000 new IRS agents. A massive influx. And by the way, these agents are not there to go after the billionaires or the giant corporations. They're there to go after you. They're there to go after small businesses. They're there to descend upon middle-class workers and audit the hell out of you. And the Democrats believe if we have this army of IRS agents, like a swarm of locusts from Washington, it will suddenly generate a lot of money. And they're probably right. But I got to tell you, I've traveled all over Texas, all over the country. I've never heard one human being say, of all the things we need in America, we need more IRS agents. That's what the Democrats are promising, 87,000 new ones. The second big problem, manufacturing, their so-called corporate minimum tax. 50% of the burden of that falls on manufacturing. What they're doing is punishing companies for investing capital in new manufacturing lines, in new truck lines, in new car lines. It is devastating to workers. The third group that is hurt is energy. There are new energy taxes and fees in this. If you're pissed off at paying more to fill up your gas tank, guess what? Schumer-Manchin makes it worse and raises the cost of energy. And fourth, and it's what Larry Kudlow just said, buried in the middle of this bill are 3 little provisions that are designed to repeal the Supreme Court's decision in West Virginia versus EPA. West Virginia versus EPA, they said, look, the EPA doesn't have the authority to disregard the Clean Air Act and suddenly regulate carbon and drive up the cost of energy for every American in this country. That decision was a terrific victory for democracy. What Schumer has convinced Joe Manchin to do is put the word carbon into the Clean Air Act. The result of that will be to bankrupt West Virginia coal miners. I've never seen a West Virginia senator literally undo the state of West Virginia's victory at the Supreme Court and bankrupt one of the most important industries in his entire state, and yet that's what we're facing right now.
Why would Democrats heading into a midterm election year think raising taxes, doubling the number of IRS agents is somehow a good, they consider this, if it happens, a win for Joe Biden and a win for Democrats. Since when is raising taxes and hiring IRS agents a win for any politician?
Well, look, many of these Democrats are hardcore ideological socialists. They've never met spending they don't like. They've never met debt they don't like. They've never met taxes they don't like. Their answer, it reminds me, remember that old Saturday Night Live skit where Christopher Walken is there, there's a band playing, and his solution to everything is more cowbell, more cowbell. That's what the Democrats are. They want more taxes, more spending. That's all they know. And what's amazing, listen, Joe Manchin's a good guy. I like Joe. But the degree to which he's been snookered, I can't think of, look, as a senator from Texas, if I signed on to legislation bankrupting the oil and gas industry, that'd be really damn dumb. He just signed on to legislation bankrupting the coal industry, which is a huge industry in the state of West Virginia. And it doesn't make any sense. And here's why the Democrats are doing this. They're counting on the corrupt corporate media to stay silent, to repeat the White House's idiotic talking points, that this cures inflation. Look, the cause of the inflation is the Democrats' massive spending. Their solution is spend more and tax more. It's like throwing gasoline on a raging bonfire. It will only make inflation go up, not down, and the media won't report on that.
So they go to all these hostile regimes, from Russia to Iran to Venezuela to Saudi Arabia to OPEC, and it's okay if we import oil. We just can't produce it domestically, and gas, even though we have hundreds of years of supplies worth. We don't have to beg Texas, for example. I think you guys would willingly produce everything.
Yeah.
And then they're pushing electric cars, which cost about 20 grand more than a gasoline-powered car. That to build that battery, you got to mine cobalt and nickel and manganese and other minerals using big equipment that uses diesel and disrupt Mother Earth to get it. And then when you actually plug in to charge your battery, 88% of the grid is gas and coal, so you're still using gas and coal to power the electric vehicle. How does that make sense to you?
Look, it's fundamentally deceptive. It's dishonest. It doesn't make any sense. When Biden was elected, the average price of gasoline was $2.38 a gallon. It has doubled since then. And that's not an accident. They've attacked U.S. energy production. You're right. They're encouraging Iran and Venezuela and our enemies to produce because they don't want American energy, and it is hurting consumers. And I got to say, their transportation secretary, Pete Buttigieg, was very honest. He said the pain is the point. The more we drive up your cost at the pump, the more you'll do what we want, which is sell your Suburban and buy a Prius. That's not what the American people want.
Well, you got to pay 20 grand more up front. And you also got to, dig out a lot of minerals, and you're still using the electric grid to charge the electric vehicle. All right, Senator, thank you.
And the battery is built with Chinese slave labor.
Unbelievable. All right, thank you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.